What's up, everyone? Welcome to NBA Crunch Time. I'm your host today, TJ Zwarich. We got a fun night of hoops ahead of us. We have two different slates on FanDuel and DraftKings. We also got some NFL tonight. We got some NHL tonight. We got a good, fun evening of sports ahead of us, and helping me break it all down. First up, I just saw him a couple hours ago. I got my guy Tim Buell, Tasteful Tides. How you doing, Tim?
Yeah, I'm doing well, TJ. We got the triple T formation going. I'm sweating a little football here on the TV. Luckily, we don't have a ton of NBA news that we really need to worry about, at least on DK. It's really just Cat. And then on FanDuel, we have some Golden State stuff we're waiting on, but not a whole lot of stuff we're waiting on. So we should be able to build pretty comfortably. But yeah, it's good to see both of you.
Man, how much is Rico Dowdle sweating that he doesn't have a negative run right now before the end of the game? He needed 7 yards to get a $1 million incentive, and he is at 10 yards. And so he must be just really, really concerned he's not getting hit in the backfield. If somebody's coming at him in the backfield at that point, I'm probably just throwing the ball out of bounds, even as a running back. But I did play some NHL tonight as well for my guy J3. For my guy J3 in chat, he's been asking me for the last couple weeks, TJ, we need you to start playing more NHL. And so I threw in not one, but two teams tonight. Chat was also talking about how we're only really waiting on Karl Anthony Towns as the big piece of news on DraftKings, like you alluded to, Tim. Steve Owen chat telling us he is warming up right now. He's currently listed as a game time decision with an illness, but helping us break down tonight's NBA slate as well. We got not just one of the sharpest minds in the biz, but two of them. We got Taylor Smith. How you doing, Taylor?
Doing well. Tim was talking pre-show about how he's looking forward to vacation after tomorrow. I will also be on vacation starting tomorrow, so should be a good time. We'll both be very focused on the show, though.
Ricky Pearsall, inactive. So for those playing some NFL this evening, Ricky Pearsall is not in the lineup. That game starts at 7, so that will be 30 minutes after this show ends, so I don't have to worry about my NFL lineups right now. I can figure it out after. But bump up Juwan Jennings, bump up Kendrick Bourne, bump up DeMarcus Robinson. Really, really interesting slate now with that Ricky Pearsall news, because I think we all expected him to be in. He was practicing this week and everything. Interesting. No Ricky Pearsall for our football people, but we are here to chat about some NBA tonight. Both of you guys going on vacation next week. Steve's going on vacation in 2 weeks. I'm not going to have a day off for the next 2 weeks, am I? But that is all right. Looking forward to diving into it. Tim, I will throw it to you. Why don't you give us a breakdown for today's slate, because I can't make Taylor do it. Usually I like to make Taylor do it because he does the core play articles on the weekend, but he didn't have to do it today because Noto thought he was doing it. And so Noto was telling me the story this morning. He got up early to write the article, realized as soon as he's finished, oh damn, I wasn't supposed to write it today. And so we gotta keep allowing our guy Taylor to take it easy. So Tim, I'll throw it to you. Give us the breakdown.
Wow, that's quite the story from Noto. Yeah, so we got 5 games on DK tonight, 7 on FanDuel. The two ones on FanDuel are the 2 later games, 10 o'clock and 10:30 Eastern. Like I said, we are waiting on a little bit of Golden State news, so it is a little bit different over on FanDuel. Sounds like Cat's going through his regular pregame warm-up, so really doesn't sound like we have much of any news tonight. Really nothing that's going to really change the landscape of the slate. I would say that it's looking like, we've got a couple of really, really nice spend up options in Jalen Johnson. We've been playing him all season. He's really taken a step forward here. Looks like he's going to be kind of our primary spend up here. And of course, this Toronto-Atlanta game, just kind of piggybacking off that whole Jalen Johnson comment, that this Toronto-Atlanta game, I think, is going to be a really good one to attack in GPPs. And then But I think that out of these 5 primary games on DraftKings, it's going to be really nice. Like, there are 3 games that I have circled that I want to get a ton of exposure to, and then there's 2 games that kind of fall a little bit flat here, but I still think there's good plays within those 2 games that I don't think are that good. Those being Philly, New York, and Houston, Dallas. Like, those are the 2 games that I don't really love, but I think that there's still some really nice plays there. So there's totally different ways that you can build here. It's a really nice 5-game slate. Like, usually these smaller slates, I think, can get really, really kind of bland and chalky. And while we do have chalky pieces on the slate, I think there are some creative ways that we can build teams tonight.
Taylor, I lied, and I actually am going to get your overview thoughts as well, because it's an hour and it's only crunch time, and so there's no reason for us to cut it down. So I lied to you. I'm sorry, but I do want your overview as well. What are your thoughts on this slate?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. There are a lot of teams playing for the second time in 2 nights. So you could see some teams just kind of suck unexpectedly. I think Portland is a candidate to potentially struggle. I think it's their 5th game in 7 days, and a back-to-back, and 3rd and 4 nights, and a tough spot against San Antonio, even without Wemby. So kind of on alert about that one. I was hoping Towns would be out. I was kind of leaning that he would be out again with an illness, but kind of now sounds like he's more likely than not to play. There is really good value kind of in all the games. I think we don't really have any potential blowouts on the DK slate, at least. A lot of spend ups. Jalen Johnson's probably going to be mega chalk, like Tim was saying, but I don't think it's like a slate where you only have to focus on one. I think there's enough value to get 2 high price spends on the slate. So a lot of ways to go, a lot of lower owned studs you can target. So it is a pretty good slate.
All right, we will go position by position. First, we will go on DraftKings. Then we will go on FanDuel. Then I will take your questions. I'll go to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. I'll go to the YouTube chat second. YouTube, all we ask is that you smash that like button for us. Help us battle that YouTube algorithm. Keep the lights on. It's some free content on a Saturday. All we ask is that you are hitting that like button. I also want to tell you about Pick Labs. It's the newest Fantasy Labs feature that lets you scan player props and pick 'em bets in seconds. Everything's broken down for you, from edges and win rates to value. It's a clean board showing which plays actually stand out across sports books and sites like Underdog and Prize Picks. And when you see something you like, Pick Labs builds the slip and sends it straight to the book of your choice. Let's start out at DraftKings point guard. Tim, I will start with you. Who do you like today at the point guard position?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we're looking for spend up options, like we talked about Jalen Johnson, but Denny Atvia, he's got to be up there with one of the best spend ups on the entire slate. The Spurs are going to be without Wemby, so this makes it for really a better spot here for Portland. We've seen Denny Atvia really take really big steps this season. He went for over 65 fantasy points last night. I know that this is a back-to-back here for Portland, but I guess I don't really care. This guy is going to be a 10K player, I think, here in the next couple of weeks, and I think that he's still kind of pretty much like a value here. So I think Denny Atvia is a primary spend up option tonight. Emmanuel Quickly, he's the mid-range guy, really nice matchup against Atlanta. So I do like him quite a bit, getting to a lot of Quickly in both optimals and in sims. So I think he's a really strong play today. De'Aaron Fox, saw his price come up. He was 7K last night. It's gone up $900 in a day. I still think there's a little bit of meat on the bone there just because this matchup against Portland is so good. So I think that 7,900 for him is okay. Trey Jones, he's point guard, shooting guard. He's 5,500. He would be kind of like your salary saving option, I guess you could call it. So I do like Trey Jones, but I think he's better played at shooting guard. Same thing with Dylan Harper. I'm getting to a little bit of Dylan Harper tonight. Again, I think he's a little bit better at the shooting guard, not point guard though.
Muted.
Sorry about that. Dog was in the room. Tim, I'll bring it up just because I know you also had him in your NHL lineup today, but Cooley is not starting. It is Dustin Wolf starting for Calgary today. So if you're playing some NHL, get Cooley out of your lineups. It's Wolf starting. Taylor, how about you? Who do you like at the point guard spot today?
Yeah, I do think Avdia is the top guy, just sort of by default. Like his price came down from where it was last night, inexplicably. Only 9,300 is definitely an underpay for him. Not in love with the spot, but I think, obviously he's fine. The role is just massive without Holiday and Grant. So Avdia I'm okay with. There are a lot of pivots. Maxey, Brunson in the same range, in the same game, I think are interesting. Brunson, if Towns is in, is going to be very low owned, I think. I think they both will be pretty low owned. Their teams are kind of at full strength, but both still have ceilings worth chasing in tournaments if they're going to be like a fraction of Avdia's ownership. Played LaMelo last night. Unfortunately, he's still only 8,100, and they're playing Chicago. So I think you can go back to the well with this. It is a better matchup for Charlotte. They're kind of complicated because they do kind of split the usage with those top 4 Hornets, but I think LaMelo is worth a shout. Fox, I agree, is a strong play. Dyson Daniels without Trae Young. Atlanta's rotation's pretty solidified. Not ever the most fun play without a ton of usage, but good price tag, good game environment. I think Daniels is decent. I agree about Quickly being a solid play. Amen Thompson, I never mind getting to in tournaments. He just hasn't really had a huge ceiling with Şengün and KD in, but under 8K, I think that's worth the play in probably larger field stuff. And on the cheap side, I think it is Trey Jones or Harper. I think Brandon Williams is okay off the Dallas bench. He's been pretty good. The role's been steady for him. Miles McBride, I think, is fine. I'd prefer Towns to be out, but he's cheap enough to where I think you can play him too.
All right, take us over to shooting guard.
Yeah, so we have more Hornets. I think Con Knipple in the mid-range is pretty interesting at 6,500 against Chicago. Trey Jones, I think, will be the chalk here. It's fine. Like no Gideon, no White increases his role pretty substantially. So I'm okay with that. I think Herter as a pivot, even if he doesn't start, is pretty interesting. Probably better at small forward, which is a weaker spot. But Herter and Io are both, I think, okay Trey Jones pivots. Ingram under 8K. RJ Barrett's back, so not perfect, but still a little bit cheap for what he can do. Just Toronto and Charlotte, when they're both fully healthy in the backcourt, it's like kind of complicated. I would probably just max to both of those top 4s on those teams. I think Ingram's totally fine. Steph Castle, I think he's the same price as Fox these days, 7,800. Shooting guard makes him a bit more valuable than Fox, I think, on this particular slate. Shaden Sharp's okay. Prefer Castle if I'm spending into the mid-range at shooting guard, though. I think Alexander Walker is better at small forward. Same with Kevin Durant. And Caleb Love's okay. Just a cheap guy off the Portland bench, going to get usage. Regardless of whether the game blows out, his minutes should be pretty safe. So I think Love is an interesting tournament play.
All right, Tim, how about you? Who do you like at the shooting guard position? Also a cash game QQ for you here. We're not at power forward yet, but I got Kelly Olynyk popping a little bit in projections. Would you go Olynyk and Castle, or would you go Dylan Harper and Matas Buzelis?
It was Kelly O and who?
Castle.
I guess Kelly O and Castle. Yeah.
All right, that's what I.
Yeah, but Kelly O is
too.
Okay. Yeah, Kelly O is in our first option right now. I was kind of surprised to see that. I kind of dug into that a little further, and I guess it makes sense. And we do have guys that we want to pay a premium for, so it does make sense to get to some Kelly O. I guess.
The scary thing is he could get 0 minutes.
Yeah,
we'll get there when he gets to power forward.
Right. I mean, I'm really sketched out by it, but I mean, it does make sense. It does make sense. Shooting guard. Yeah, shooting guard. It's kind of a debate in my eyes between Brandon Ingram and Stephen Castle in terms of like the top overall play. I I think that I prefer spending the extra 100 on Castle, but it's super close between those two. Dyson Daniels, I think, is a really, really strong play at 6,600. So if you didn't quite have the money for Castle or Ingram, you can go down to Dyson Daniels, in my opinion. Shaden Sharp in GPPs, I think, is fantastic. And definitely somebody that you could be playing anywhere. Trey Jones, I talked about at point guard. Really like him today at 5,500, and I think that, like I said, I'd rather be playing him at shooting guard than at point guard. Dylan Harper, the same thing, really. And then, if Kevin Durant is really going to be 4% owned, I think that he's certainly worth taking shots on in GPPs, but not somebody that I can personally get to as a single entry player.
All right, take us to small forward.
Yeah, so Brandon Miller is the guy that seems to be really sticking out in optimals and in sims. I'm a little bit concerned by that. I don't think he's a must play by any means, but I think he's very strong. I think that might be a place. I think small forward might be a place where I'm considering just punting the position, or at least going lower than Brandon Miller. That guy for me right now is Tariq Eason at 4,900. Still not playing huge minutes, but I think that price tag is too cheap for him. So I have a lot of interest in Tari Eason today, as in single entry and in cash games. But small forward is not great today. So I think you can really kind of just go back and forth here. Tamani Kamara at 5,700. I like this matchup for Portland. I think that's a pretty good price tag for him. So Kamara and GPPs, I think, is okay. Vic Krejci at 4,100. Again, just another one of these punts that you can certainly get to. And then again, same thing with Durant at shooting guard. I think that the same thing applies at small forward. Like, again, if he's going to be this low owned, I think he makes a ton of sense in large field stuff.
All right, Taylor, how about you? Small forward.
Yeah, it's really gross. It might be a little bit better than it was last night, which is not high praise for small forward, but I think Eason is okay. Still probably too cheap. Could get into low 30s maybe if the game's close down the stretch. I think that's pretty interesting. I'm okay with Miller. Like I said, like all those top 4 Hornets just kind of look the same. I think they're all pretty good plays. So Miller just being small forward makes him probably the best of that group, but it should also make him the chalkiest. I mentioned Herter being okay. I think Eason, if you're shopping in that range, is just a little bit better. Alexander Walker, Kevin Durant, good tournament plays. No one's going to play Cooper Flag, which, it's not a good matchup at all, but at a bad position, he's shown a ceiling. Dallas is also one of the more rested teams on the slate, so maybe they can kind of show out a little bit relative to some of the others, so I'm okay with him in a larger field tournament. I thought Bridges would be a very strong play if Towns is out, but now it seems like Towns is in. I think Bridges is still playable, but I think Alexander Walker for 100 more is a little bit better. RJ Barrett's only going to play a little more than 24 minutes, they said, but he is only 6K, which is pretty light for him. And if it's a little more than 24 minutes, it could be 28 or something. I think it's more likely to be 26, but you never know. I'm willing to take shots on that at 6K just because it is an underpay at a bad position. That's about it. I think Keldon's fine. Without Wemby, his role could kind of increase a little bit. I'd rather play him than Champagny in the same range. And then Io, I think, is fine, but not great.
All right, take us to power forward.
Yeah, a lot more to like power forward. I think Jalen Johnson is going to be 60+% owned in smaller field stuff. Could be higher than that, but it's hard to argue with it. Just the role is massive without Trae Young and Porzingis. Fine enough matchup against Toronto. Scotty Barnes started at the 5 the other night. We don't know yet if he will again, but if he does, even if he doesn't, he's a very good play against Atlanta. Can't really protect the rim without Porzingis, so I like Scotty quite a bit. Jalen Smith on the cheap end, if starting again, is also just too cheap for his role at 5,200 with the Bulls dealing with some injuries. Buzelis, once again, I think is a pretty strong play for 200 more. Şengün and AD on the high end. I really like the spot for Şengün. Like, Dallas just hasn't protected the paint at all, even with Davis in. And if people are going to be paying down here or paying up for Jalen Johnson, I think Şengün is a pretty strong pivot. Anthony Davis, sub 10% ownership, probably. Similar case for him. I think Miles Bridges, one of those Hornets, is totally fine. And that's kind of it. I think the cheap guys, clearly Jalen Smith or Tari Eason, but I think, again, Eason is just better at small forward.
Guys that I did, like, I think because small forward is so weak and you have to play 3 total forwards on DraftKings, I'm just getting optimizers spitting me out just a ton of the cheap power forwards because I have so few small forwards in my pool. And like on my first set of builds, it was giving me 70% Olynyk. And so I had to, like, I bumped his projection way down. I bumped his percentage cap way down. I set it at like a 14-point projection and a maximum of 10% owned. And I'm still getting 30% Kelly Olynyk in my lineups. And so, like, counteract get it down from 60, I'm also getting some Colin Murray Boyles for the Raptors. I'm getting to some Asa Newell for the Hawks just because he's super cheap and might play 20-ish minutes. Just doing some gross things at the forward spot today because there's a lot of expensive ones I want to play. There's not a lot of value here, sub 5K, and
I think
I'm
you
building
can
a lot of lineups that need it.
I think you can consider Tijan Salon in that range just because there's no Diabate, there's no Kalkbrenner.
That's smart.
PJ Hall is like the starting center and he's barely played in the NBA. If Olynyk is going to be really owned because optimizers are really pushing him out, then simply fading that is not a bad way to go.
Very smart. You're correcting a big process error for me because I don't think I re-entered the Charlotte guys in my pool after the Diabate news happens, and so I didn't have Salon or PJ Hall in my pool whatsoever, and I do want both of them there, and so I appreciate. And I'm
PJ Hall's another one of these super shaky, chalky guys like Kelly Olynyk and PJ Hall chalk night. Like, what could possibly go wrong? It seems super sketchy with this whole Kelly Olynyk PJ Hall thing, but I mean, it makes sense because we do have some really strong plays up at the top. So, yeah.
Well, let's hopefully by adding those guys in, it can drop my Newell, Olynyk, and Murray Boyles exposure from 30% apiece to like 20% apiece. Tim, did you do power forward yet?
I haven't. No, it's definitely Jalen Johnson at the top. He's definitely like a core play. Noto did actually core him in lineup HQ. He should probably be your first click if you're playing cash games tonight. He was my first click in single entry. The usage and matchup are just too good to pass up. He's a triple double machine. I'm surprised. I'm like really surprised he's not over 10K yet. So just take advantage of it while you still can. Like Taylor mentioned, Jalen Smith, assuming he starts, is far too cheap. Buzelis would be kind of the pivot there out of that same game, kind of similar price, similar projected minutes. Buzelis, I think, is going to be a little bit lower owned, but not by a ton. But I think that they're both super strong plays. Scotty Barnes, his ownership should not get too high because people are going to be paying out for Jalen Johnson. Scotty Barnes is my favorite pivot in all formats. If you don't want to pay out for Jalen Johnson, or you could conceivably play both Jalen Johnson and Scotty Barnes. I think that's a pretty interesting way to build into that game. Kelly O, we talked about him. Like, you kind of play him at your own risk. If he does get 18 to 20 minutes, he should pay off that 3K price tag. But he could also get 0. So Tari Eason, again, I think he's better at small forward, but I think if you're at that $4,900 price tag, you could click him in at the power forward spot. So I think he's okay. I think that would really be it for me. Şengün and AD, large field only. If I had to pick one, it would be Şengün, but they're both okay.
Beautiful stuff. Down to 30% Olynyk, 20% Salon, or however you say his name, 20% Newell, and only 12% Murray Boyles. Way better when you can just add one more of those cheap, ugly pieces in to differentiate to a bunch of different cheap, ugly pieces. Tim, take us to the center spot.
Yeah, so center's kind of interesting tonight. We could play Joel Embiid at 8,600. I don't think he's going to be super chalky because people are going to be paying up likely for Atvia, for Jalen Johnson, for guys like Scotty Barnes. So I think that Embiid is a very strong play. Nikola Vucevic, a little bit cheaper than Embiid, in a really good spot. Was popping in optimals quite a bit earlier, not so much now, but I still think he's very strong. Got a question in YouTube chat. Okongwu is Doug's highest owned player. Is that a mistake? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. It's a really good matchup. Like, he's not going to be super low, super high owned. I think he's okay. Like, there's risk there. Like, as long as you understand the risk.
It's certainly a strong stand, but there's nothing wrong with that in tournaments.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with taking a stand like that. If you like him, I say play him. I think it's a good game environment. And then the cheap punt is PJ Hall. Like Taylor mentioned, this guy's like a G League monster, very inexperienced at the NBA level. We're kind of guessing here a little bit, but if he can get you 20 to 22 fantasy points, I don't hate it. I think he's okay. So likely I am going to be punting this position. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it with PJ Hall. I might do it with Luke Cornett as well. I'm kind of figuring that out as we speak.
All right, Taylor, how about you? Who do you like at center?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in paying up if people like Hall and Cornett and Olynyk are going to be popular at all. I don't know if they will be. It's very hard to tell if people are actually just going to see the Olynyk projection and salary and want to play that. But on a back-to-back, I'd be quite concerned that he could just DNP entirely. We have seen that before. I personally will not be playing him unless he is randomly starting, which I think is highly unlikely, but he is cheap. So if he is in the rotation, it shouldn't take much for him to get there. But paying up has a lot of value. I mentioned Şengün at the last position. Embiid, I think, is a good play. His minutes have really been up, like 38, including overtime, and then 35 in a regulation game the other night. So he went from playing like 20s, mid-20s to upper 30s very quickly, which is alarming because he could break down at any moment, but he is 8,600, so it's a pretty good value on him. I love the Okongwu play. I think it's 7-2. If Toronto is starting Barnes at the 5 again, like he's just going to have a bit of a size advantage. Good matchup anyway. If Sandro is starting though at 5K flat without Pirtle, he's pretty awesome as a salary saver. Jalen Smith, we talked about. I think if Sandro is starting, Jalen Smith might lose a little bit of ownership, but both are playable in the same lineup. No issue with that whatsoever. I think Klingon is okay in a tournament without Wemby on the San Antonio side. The minutes for him have been strong lately. Mention AD. I think if I am going cheap and Sandro is not starting, and I'm not playing Jalen Smith, it would probably be Luke Cornett.
Karl Anthony Towns is in, and so we got that news. Don't have to worry about that. I do want to ask you guys a 2v2 for DraftKings here. Would you go DraftKings cash, Caleb Love and Stephon Castle, or Dylan Harper and Nikola Vucevic?
The second one in cash.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, Tim, but I don't like that one as much. I hate cash games, but I've been so profitable with them this year. I got to do it. Let's switch over to FanDuel, where we got more games on the FanDuel slate than over on DraftKings. Let's start at the point guard spot, where Shaedon Sharpe is actually projecting as the most optimal point guard, with Steph Curry third. So one guy we didn't talk much about at all on DraftKings, and another who's not even on the slate. So very different slate over here on DK. Taylor, you get to go first this time. Who do you like FanDuel point guard?
Yeah, Curry is officially questionable. I'd be surprised if he sat out. He sat out last night in a game they punted against OKC. Tonight they get Utah, which, as we've talked about, is like Coors Field for NBA. So while I generally don't ever want to play Golden State, I think Curry at 8-6 over here against Utah is just a very obvious play, assuming he's in, which I expect he will be. The Sharp thing is fine. I think Castle for 500 more is a bit of a stronger play. I'd rather get to him. Both are shooting guard, which is helpful, but no real issue with it. I just think the matchup sets up better for San Antonio in general in that game. Dyson Daniels always looks better on FanDuel, where you get 3 for the blocks and steals. Big part of his game. Brunson's fine. Harden, we have the Clippers on this slate. He's okay. A little bit cheap, but kind of hard to get past Curry. I think he's just kind of a smash that you want to have, especially for playing cash games.
Tim, how about you? FanDuel point guard.
Yeah, Steph Curry is definitely the guy. I assume that Taylor's correct that Curry will play. You might want to build a 2v2 here because if he doesn't, Pat Spencer would be a really, really strong play. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I'm assuming that he will be playing here, and he is way too cheap for this matchup. So absolutely love him. De'Aaron Fox at 8,300. I think he's a very interesting kind of pivot here off the Curry chalk. Fox is going to be somewhat owned, but not as owned as Curry. Same thing with like Steph Castle. You can also play Castle at the shooting guard position. So I think that he's really, really interesting. Dyson Daniels, Shaden Sharp are 2 guys in the low 7s. Emmanuel Quickly, another one at the 7K mark that I think is really, really interesting. Somebody that that price range is really, really good here on FanDuel. So I don't think it's absolutely necessary to like play the Hardens, play the Brunsons, play the Maxis, like because you have plenty of guys here in that 7 to 8K range. Caleb Love is a viable punt at 4,900, but I don't think he's really super necessary.
I can't win with J3 in the YouTube chat. I don't play NHL DFS. You know what he says? He says, we want TJ to play NHL DFS. I do play NHL DFS. When I talk about it, what does J3 say? He says, we want TJ to play NHL DFS. I am. What more can I do? Tim, take us over to shooting guard.
Yeah, so shooting guard, pretty similar stuff as point guard. Steph Castle, I think, is my favorite play. Dyson Daniels, Shaden Sharp. We can add in Brandon Miller into the group at 7,400. I think he's a worthy addition. Con Knipple at 71. He's okay as well. Yeah, it's definitely, again, Caleb Love. If Steph Curry were to somehow miss, Brandon Przemski at 5,700, I think is super, super interesting. And Dylan Harper at 5,200. I should have mentioned him at point guard, but he makes sense either way. Dylan Harper at 5,200. I think he's a super, super worthy value option. But again, that this whole kind of 7-8K range is pretty strong here.
All right, Taylor, how about you? Shooting guard.
Yeah, I think Jaylen Brown should be in your tournament pool always. He's just had a super high usage rate this season without Tatum. Clippers have been a little bit better lately, but not too concerned about it. He's still under 10K. That's a pretty strong tournament play. I like the Harper call if you are going cheap. There's not a lot of cheap stuff that looks great at shooting guard on FanDuel. I think he's good. I think Io at 5.7 is pretty interesting with Trey Jones priced up over here. Same price as Herter. I think I would lean toward Dosunmu being the better play. Otherwise, same guys we talked about at point guard: Castle, Daniels, Shaden Sharp. Amen Thompson is fine for tournaments also. And Krejci, if you have to punt it, is probably your best bet in the 4K range, but ideally you're not going that far down.
All right, take us a small forward.
Yeah, so we have Danny over here, still under 10K. Again, more expensive on FanDuel than on DK, but the role has been monstrous for him, so he's a great option at small forward. Jalen Johnson also pushing 11K, but hard to say he hasn't been worth it just with the role he has amid Atlanta's injuries. Super high floor, super high ceiling, so no issue with just pairing those two if you want. Jimmy Butler is also questionable, but he's under 8K against Utah. So if he's in, pretty strong play. He's been more of a high floor than a high ceiling guy this season, but pretty good price tag, I think, on him given the matchup. A lot of other guys you can pay up for to be different. I think Scotty's going to be lower owned over here. Jaylen Brown, I talked about. Miles Bridges is only 7.2, which is pretty light for Charlotte in that matchup against Chicago. KD, Brandon Miller, Tari Eason at 5.6 is decently cheap. Markkanen, no one's going to play him, assuming he's in for Utah, which I think he is. Just a lot to pay up for. Kawhi Leonard is 10.8. He's been on quite the heater. It's quite the high price tag on him in a tougher matchup. But if you want to ride the wave at maybe 5% ownership, I think it's at least worth a mention.
Tim, how about you? FanDuel small forward.
Yeah, it's kind of a decision whether or not you want to go with Denny or Jalen Johnson. I think you still prioritize Jalen Johnson here, even though pricing's a little bit tighter on FanDuel. But it's super close, and it's really hard to get both just because of the addition of this Golden State game. So I'm still leaning Jalen Johnson. I love Brandon Ingram at 8K. Jimmy Butler, Taylor made a good call with Jimmy Butler, assuming he plays. He's too cheap. Kamara at 5,700. I like a ton here in that mid range. Buzelis at 61. I think he's still playable at that price point. Krejci at 41. I think he is like your best, super cheap guy. Isaac Okoro at 4,300 is okay as a punt as well. Tari Eason is a little bit better on DK, but I still think he's playable at 5,600. I think you can play
Murray Boyles.
Murray Boyles starting for the Raptors.
Yeah.
Time to bump my Murray Boyles exposure back up. We had, who did we have starting? Because we also didn't have Mamu. Oh, we had Ochai Agbaji starting, and he's not in the starting lineup anymore. So, yeah, bump up to Murray Boyle. I don't know what his projection is going to be now, but I assume that 20-minute projection goes up to at least like 26.
Yeah, so that's definitely interesting.
Much better on DK than FanDuel, where he's 5K. It's kind of high, but yeah.
Yeah, 5K on FanDuel isn't fantastic.
Offhand, if you were to just guess what you would put out a projection on DK for Murray Boyles, what would you put, Taylor?
For minutes?
Yeah.
I think 26 is reasonable.
Which that bumped him up to a 21.71 fantasy point projection for me. So definitely makes Murray Boyles a viable salary saver. Not quite in the like in an optimal or a must play or anything like that, but certainly a viable salary saver.
Now it's a decision between him and PJ Hall.
Yeah. Who would you go in that spot without seeing a projection update?
Probably Murray Boyles.
I think I agree.
Just because I feel a little bit more confident about who he is and kind of like what to expect. And I like both those games actually. So I was about to say I kind of like that game more, but that's not really true. I like both those games quite a bit. It's pretty close between those two. Murray Boyles is super interesting. I think does PJ Hall have power forward eligibility as well? He doesn't.
No.
Yeah, Murray Boyles has power forward center. So yeah, Murray Boyles is super valuable now.
Whoa, Saloun just got ruled out.
Of course
so
now PJ Hall's the only big man left on the team.
Oh my word. So now it's probably both.
I got to imagine PJ Hall's like projection's going to go up significantly because the two other power forwards we had in at least in lineup HQ, I don't know who they necessarily have available. One was Pat Connaughton. That's absolutely not a big guy. How tall is Liam McNeely?
He's like a shooter. He's not even a big at all. He might be tall, but like 100 pounds.
I kind of feel like, so here, there's two things for this. one, Hall's going to have to play a ton of minutes. Two, I feel like there's a good chance Jalen Smith is not in the starting lineup.
The game could just go really small too. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Jalen Smith and Vucevic might just like
Yeah.
split 24 minutes or split 48 minutes at the center, because they'll probably just run Dosunmu out there with their 4 guards, essentially 3 guards and Buzelis type build.
This might also really help guys like Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges as well.
Yeah, good point.
wow,
It's interesting.
curve. Tijon Salon.
Who would
Shattering
have known that
slate.
Colin Murray Boyles and Tijuan Salon were gonna mess up our days this much? Anybody remember where we are?
I don't.
Tim power forward, I think.
Tim power forward.
Yeah,
He
so
might have been done.
I think I was
don't know.
I think I was pretty much done with power forward. I was talking about how I was still prioritizing Jalen Johnson over Danny Apvia. Draymond Green is a super strong play at 5,600, regardless of the news. But if Butler and Curry were to miss, he'd be like an absolute smash. But even now, he's way too cheap. So don't forget about Draymond on FanDuel. But yeah, I think I was pretty much done with power forward. But I can move to center. Taylor's already done power forward, I'm pretty sure. So yeah. So center is pretty tough. I would like to be able to play Joel Embiid. I don't think I can really get there today. Same kind of thing with Nikola Vucevic. Like, he's fantastic. If you have the salary, you can absolutely play him. Vucevic is currently in our first optimal. Makes a ton of sense. I think that I'm either going to be playing. I'm going to see how this new kind of projection update kind of shakes out, but I might be playing PJ Hall. I might be playing Jalen Smith. I'm likely just going to be kind of punting the position, because I just don't think I can prioritize paying up for Vucevic or Embiid here with just so much other really, really strong pay up options on this slate.
One thing I'm going to adjust for tournaments because of that news with I'm like going to do a max 1 Jalen Smith and Nikola Vucevic now. Even if they start together, I don't think they're going to be both running out there that often, because I think this game is going to go smaller. And so I'm making a rule that I only want 1 each of those guys. And I kind of feel like I almost want to lock PJ Hall. I don't know what his projection is going to be, but like, is there a way he fails other than foul trouble? Foul trouble and injury are 2 very clear paths to failure. Is there a way he fails other than those 2 factors? They have no other big men.
It's hard to see at that salary. But he's PJ Hall. So
I think we gave a kind of a somewhat significant increase to Colin Sexton.
Yeah.
Murray Boyles didn't go up as much as I expected. 24 minutes and a 20.79 projection. So not a overly aggressive projection on Murray Boyles now.
Yeah.
Taylor, who do you got as a slate breaker tonight?
Let's see. I think at reasonably low ownership, I think Şengün is just in a really good spot, and I don't really think people are getting there, especially with this Hall thing opening up now. That's going to attract a lot of ownership. Şengün has power forward, which is also really helpful. I think on both sides, so I like him a lot.
Doesn't he historically dominate AD?
Maybe.
I feel like that was the thing when he was with the Lakers, that Şengün would always give the Lakers fits.
Yeah. I mean, Dallas has just not been protecting the paint at all. So I think pretty smashy spot for him tonight.
Tim, how about you? Who is tonight's slate breaker?
I'm going to go Brandon Miller.
I like it. Those Charlotte guys looking a lot better now that we have, who would have known, Salon out of the lineup, making a big difference. I hate that I have to say his name this often because I don't actually know how to pronounce it properly. But Tim, if you don't mind, why don't you give us before we hit QQs, a little bit of a now like cash game core quick recap of the position by positions. Like, no need to go all the positional recaps, but like, who are the guys now that you are making sure you are building around in your cash game and single entry?
You're still going Denny Appiah, Jalen Johnson. That has not changed. PJ Hall, I think, has become solidified as a cash game option. I am out on Kelly O now. I think that there's enough cheap stuff where we can kind of slide away from that. Slide away from that volatility, at least in cash games. Like, I think you can still play him in GPPs if you want to. So Denny, Jalen, PJ Hall, I think are fantastic. I would be getting to one bull, whether that be Jones or Jalen Smith or Vucevic, somewhere in there. I would be trying to get to one bull and one spur, whether that be Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, something like that, depending on where you're at with your salary cap. But I would be trying to get to one spur as well.
I feel like some projections have updated for Charlotte. Like Colin Sexton went way up, but we only have 4 players listed as a potential starter in lineup HQ. And Hall's minutes haven't really gone up. His points has gone up 1, but I don't think his minutes even have, maybe like a minute or 2. I feel like we're still missing some minutes there. I could be wrong.
He's got a pretty wide
Looking at the
range, I
starting lineup
think.
page right now and seeing how it looks for NBA.
Did he start last night? He did, didn't he? I think he's going to start again.
Yeah, our starting lineup page still has Diabate there. That's not good. We'll do a couple more refreshes, see what we get there. But let's start taking some questions. Going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. Going to the YouTube chat second. DK Cash. Rank these guys, Taylor. Harper, Herter, Eason.
Eason, Harper, Herter, I think. That's where I'd go.
I really think I'm just going to end up jamming PJ Hall into basically every lineup. There we go. Setting my 150. I usually like getting my 150 set done before we get to QQs, but that Charlotte news really threw me for a loop here. DK, GPP, Tim, Io and Ingram, or Eason and Durant?
Io and Ingram or Eason. If that's a GPP, the Durant Eason side.
All right, I like that as well. Next question, Taylor. DK Cash, Kelly O and Vucevic, or Buzelis and Cornette?
I really don't feel confident in playing Kelly O, so I'd lean the other way. I think you should consider PJ Hall now, just because.
Yeah,
or Murray Boyles, like they're both starting. They both have, I think Hall has a higher minute ceiling, but Murray Boyles is an actual confirmed NBA player, which is worth noting. I just think Olynyk is like unnecessary now.
Which is funny because no one had heard of Murray Boyles before this season, and I don't think anybody would have been referring to him as such, but he's looked pretty good for the Raptors. Him and Mamu have been really nice.
I think Mamu now is an incredible tournament play.
I agree with you. I really like Mamu for tournaments now. I'm going to bump him up a little bit because technically not a whole lot changes for him. It's just Murray Boyles starting instead of Agbaji, but I do think that is a positive for Mamu. We actually have Mamu projected for lower minutes now because of that, but I'm going to bump him up just a touch there. There we go.
I also think Vooch, in theory, should absolutely roast PJ Hall and whoever else plays center for Charlotte. Pretty good play too.
Here's the thing. PJ Hall should also roast Vooch. In the year 2025, Vooch isn't defending anybody.
Mm-hmm. Good little
I got
game stack there.
PJ Hall in my most recent build.
That's horrifying.
And I'm going to let it roll. I feel good about it. Let's see here. Next question. Why won't TJ play NHL DFS? I will be Bill T. I am. I'm playing 2 lineups tonight. Small field, single entry, Quickly and Kamara, or Desunmu and Ingram. Tim?
The first one.
QQ, last piece, DK, GPP. Taylor, you want Desunmu or Buzelis?
Buzelis.
Hall or Murray Boyles, Tim?
I think now I'll go Hall.
Taylor, what do you think about Caleb Love as a value piece in DK Cash?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I think he's pretty safe from a mid standpoint.
Tim, DK Cash, Trey Jones, Murray Boyles, and Castle, or Sexton, Vucevic, and Jalen Smith?
The second one.
Chat noting that it is Denny's birthday. Who do we got between Murray Boyles and Hall? I know we just asked that. I didn't hear the answer, but
I'm gonna go Hall. I'm gonna go Hall. I don't have I'm not huge confident about it, but that's what I'm gonna go with.
On FanDuel, Hall or Robinson, Taylor?
Let's see, FanDuel. I think I would still take Hall. Robinson with Towns in. I know he nuked the Sixers last time, but I think Hall is just a better play now.
I agree. DK GPP, Tim, utility 4,400 or less. They already have Murray Boyles. I think the answer there is probably Hall, but assuming they have Hall too, is there anybody you'd be favoring outside of Hall and Murray Boyles?
You're gonna have to repeat that. Sorry, TJ. Well, I don't understand the question.
They need a utility spot for 4,400 on DK.
Okay.
It says they already have Boyles. And so I figure if they don't have Hall, the answer is Hall. But assuming they did as well, who would you go with in that scenario?
Man, it's pretty gross. I hope that you can just play Hall there. It's pretty bad. Harrison Barnes, maybe?
Not a bad pull. Can we still play Luke Cornett on DK, Taylor?
Yeah, his ownership's going to be quite low with the Hall thing.
All right, 7 minutes left to lock. I'm getting my 150 set here, and then all I'm going to have to adjust left is my 2 cash game lineups that I decided to build because I couldn't choose between that 2v2 I asked you guys before, so I just built a whole nother set of lineups, more entry fees, just fired that one in too, and figured I'd do both for cash. And now that we have this PJ Hall news, I'm going to have to redo both of those sets, and they're probably just going to end up being combined to become one big team now, if I had to guess. But FanDuel Cash, Tim, is Klingon a good center option if Curry is out? Oh, sorry, different. 2 questions. Is Klingon a good center option?
No, definitely not in cash.
Secondarily, what do you think about if Curry happens to be out? We don't get that news till after lock, pivoting to Keontae George in FanDuel Cash.
Ooh, all right. Let me look at this really quick. I guess that's okay. Yeah, that's all right. It's all right.
Toronto and Philadelphia, New York. Can I just look at my 2 cash game teams and say I want... Yeah, there you go. I'm not playing anybody other than Jalen Johnson in my cash teams in those first 2 games. And Jalen Johnson's a good play no matter what. And so I don't got to worry about adjusting my stuff until after lock at all because there's only one player starting in those first 2 games, and it's Jalen Johnson, who I won't change anyways. We're good. Taylor, rank your top 3 Bulls today.
Well, I think Buzelis would probably be number 1, Vooch number 2, Jalen Smith if starting. If Smith off the bench, I would go Trey Jones.
DK, GPP, Tim, Quickly and Brandon Miller, or Caleb Love and Durant?
Quickly, Brandon Miller. I really like Brandon Miller tonight. I got
Thoughts
him
on AD, Taylor, with first game back, he played 37 minutes.
That was AD?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's quite the good tournament play that no one's going to play.
Large field DK, GPP, Tim. I have a lineup that I really like, but only 3,700 left for small forward. Is there any gross punts you would consider?
Not. I don't think so.
No, it really isn't.
There really isn't.
Best option is Jacoby Walter, and that's not good at all.
No. You
Josh
might want to just
Green.
quickly rebuild there.
You're going to want to quickly rebuild, but if you're not doing it, it's Josh Green on the incredibly undermanned Charlotte Hornets tonight. That's your option. Rank these three on DraftKings, Taylor. Edgecombe, Scotty Barnes, and Brandon Miller. So not exactly three guys that are priced similarly, but how would you rank those?
Scotty, Miller, and then Jay.
Who is your cash game center, Tim? On FanDuel, sorry.
Oh, on FanDuel? It's either Mitrov, PJ Hall, or Vucevic. I'm going Hall, but I know the optimizer likes Mitrov quite a bit, and the optimizer is also spitting out Vucevic. But I'm going Hall.
Martinez saying he's got 3 spots remaining in a GPP with $8,100 remaining for 3 different positions. My friend, you're gonna have to get a little bit more specific for that one. That's a little bit too much math, especially with 2 minutes to go to lock. That is it for the questions, though. So I guess we want to help them. 8. That is less than 3K per position, though. So that wouldn't be possible. I'm assuming that means they meant.
It's hard to answer that question because we don't know who else is already on his team. So it's
that's not really a doable question, Martinez.
It's a really tough question to answer.
Give us some options to choose from. Favorite play at utility on DraftKings GPP, 5,700 or less, Taylor.
Utility 5,700. Let's see. That's tough. Buzelis, probably.
I like that as well. Is Kelly O still viable as a last piece in DK Cash, Tim?
I guess if you really, really, really need the salary, but I think you should consider quickly rebuilding because I don't think Kelly O's. I was trying to not play him before, and now I really don't think you should play him.
I think that makes sense as well. Not somebody I feel good about at all, especially like in tournaments. It's whatever. If you want to get him, he does have a high ceiling, but there's just really nothing you can do. Like in a cash setting, I just don't feel comfortable with it at all because he genuinely might not play. He could play 0 minutes. If he plays 20, he could probably break the slate. But he might end up playing 0 minutes. Butthole Jenkins asking about DK Cash and trying to get me to answer a Stranger Things spoiler. I will not do that, Butthole. But I did see you asked about my thoughts on the finale before, and I did really, really like it. I thought it was wonderful. There were some shaky parts leading up to it, but a pretty awesome end to that TV show. That'll do it for all of the questions. I did see Martinez gave us some examples of people in his team, but still, like it's kind of did you mean 81K per 8,100 per position or $8,100 total? We need a little bit more specifics in these questions, but I agree with what Derek Ringering says that Jalen Johnson is.
I was just going to say Derek was spot on. Put Jalen Johnson in next. Yep.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson would be the piece, assuming that is $8,100 per position remaining. Do Jalen Johnson, maybe a Brandon Miller at the small forward position, and then let us know how much you would have left after adding those 2 guys in. But we have reached lock. We got a Hornet starting lineup, and Hall is, in fact, in the starting lineup. I was just hoping we could delay a little bit and get a Chicago starting lineup because I do think that there's a very strong possibility Jalen Smith is not in it, and it is Ayo Dosunmu. I don't think that necessarily boosts Ayo all that much because he'd have a higher usage rate coming off the bench than he would starting, although he probably plays a couple more minutes. But I do think that would bump down Jalen Smith if he is not in the starting lineup. Still viable for GPPs, but not like a cash game smash, play him in a ton of lineups like he would be if he would have been starting. That'll do it. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Good luck in all your contests. We'll be back tomorrow morning for some NFL content bright and early at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. Tim, Bobby Dean will be taking you up until the next show, which is GPP Final Takes, and then myself, and I didn't check who else is on the schedule, we'll take you up to lock on Crunch Time. But that'll do it. Thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in today. On behalf of myself, Taylor, and Tim, how do I not have a credits for all three of us? Whatever. Anyways, we'll see you next time, everybody. Peace.